Vaibhav. In today's session of Visual JForex, I will make you familiar with the indicator named AROON oscillator. This is an derivative indicator of the AROON for which we have seen the utility in yesterday's session. Now we will see how we can use the AROON up and AROON down parts of the AROON indicator to build a new indicator which can help us in finding the trend as well as the strength of the trend. This is an momentum indicator, and we will see how we can deploy these to build the automated setup using Visual JForex platform. As you can make out from this short description, there is a difference between the AROON up and AROON down indicator, and the values fluctuate between -100 to 100. Anything above 0 is considered as pointing to the bullish trajectory, whereas anything below 0 is considered pointing to the bearish trajectory. And we use these values to see what is the underlying trend of the instrument, whether it is bullish or bearish. We use these values to help us in finding the trades appropriate with the underlying trend. So let us get started with these indicators. We will add this indicators block to this Visual JForex platform board developed by the Dukascopy Bank SA. Momentum indicators, we have seen ADX, ADXR, APO, AROON. So far amongst these momentum indicators, now we will see the utility of AROON oscillator. This is an indicator block. Here you will have the brief description for this indicator also. Any of the three start points can be chosen for initiating the trade setup. For example, we can choose the trade event as the start point. Now coming to the input parameters and output parameters, we have to define these input parameters as per our requirements. We have to see what is the best time frame, the look back period, and the time period for the indicator, which will be in combination with our other indicators or other ideas also. So here we plot the same indicator on the chart to see what can be done with this indicator and how it can help us in finding the profitable trading opportunities. So this is the chart of Euro USD plotted on the hourly time frame. This is the indicator AROON oscillator defined for the default time period of 14, and since these candlesticks are of 1 hour each, so we are looking at the data for last 14 hours, and depending on the price action which we have seen in last 14 hours, we get these AROON oscillator indicators values. Now as I said, the value below 0 is considered as pointing to the bearish trajectory of the underlying instrument. So you can observe from the chart as well. Here at 14 GMT, the value drops in negative territory, and that is 14 GMT somewhere here. And afterwards, as you can see, the Euro USD has continued in this bearish trend, as now it has fallen more than 100 pips from those levels. So if we were to trade with the trend with the help of this AROON oscillator indicator, we would have been able to use this opportunity to look for selling opportunities here, sell trades in the Euro USD. And earlier it was consistently holding above 0, and after this dip at 10 GMT, it recovered, and then, as I said, consistently it was above 0, and the momentum continued in the bullish pattern. But once in a while, we have these false breakdown kind of movements where we see the AROON oscillator value dipping below 0, but immediately next hour it again recovers the lost ground and zooms back in the bullish territory, the value above 0. And then this is a function of the price sensitivity of the indicator, and it's always possible with any indicator that some fall trading signals will be generated, and that's why we have to make the setup appropriate with its drawbacks also. Here we can get some false signals on either side. Pardon me. On either side, bullish and bearish. Now, as we have seen here, false signals on the bearish side. Sometimes we will get the false signals on the bullish side. So we have to see how to minimize these scenarios and how to plan for these scenarios, where we try to design the setup where we are not really getting involved, or we can what we can do is use the other indicators while also using these indicators, and in conjunction with other setups we can see whether to go short or not, or simply instead of simply initiating the trade when the dip happens, we can see if it is sustaining for some time or not, and after that we can think about getting involved for the fresh trading opportunities. So there are multiple ways which we can use to work around the drawbacks of the indicator, and see how we can use the trade signals generated by these indicators. So one way to look at it is that we can also see the possibility of trend change happening when we see the iron oscillator's values changing the direction, changing the trajectory after having been in one side, one momentum. If it has been bearish for a while now, and if we see the momentum changing and the values rising, and eventually it crosses above zero, then that will be the fact that the turnaround is on the cards, and we are seeing change of the course, and that way also we can use these indicators. As you can observe here also, we had iron oscillator maintaining above zero for quite a long time, and then this dip happened, and now it has continued in the bearish trajectory. So there are many ways in which you can define this indicator and then use this on the Visual JForex platform to develop the automated setup. So here you have to define the default instrument and then the time period. Default instrument can be anything, any instrument of your choice. Whichever instruments are supported here, you will be able to use them to develop your automated setup. For today's session, we keep the Euro USD as it is. We change this time frame to 1 hour, as our chart is of 1 hour. So we will change it. Time frame can be starting from 10 seconds to 1 month. So you have all these options listed under the candlestick time period. Shift is the look back period. If we take the shift as 0, then the current output value will be taken into consideration. If we go back in time, say 1, 2, 3, or so on, then by that much amount of time we will be going back and taking the output value of that point in time. The time period is the period used for calculation of these indicators. If we extend this to say 30, then we will have the last 30 hours data taken into account. So depending on how you define these time period parameters, you will have different values for the output of these iron oscillator indicators. So here also we will edit it to make it 30. This is a representative value. There is nothing special about 30. You can go for 50, you can go for 10, you can go for 20. It's always up to you to decide which is the time frame, which is the time period which best serves your purpose. Here, as we are working with the longer time period, you can see that the occasional dips have kind of vanished, and the indicator is indicating more stability in its output values. So we can use this indicator on the time period of our choice, and you will of course need to test it to see if any time period you are choosing for calculation of this indicator is profitable in the long run or not. For that, you will have to carry out extensive testing. You get this output value, which can be used in any if-else statement or for any further calculation. So this output value is the result of all these defining of input parameters. For calculation, we can rely on the bid side or on the ask side. So depending on which side you calculate, there will be minor difference in the output. The applied price, the price of the candlestick, which is going to be used for calculation of the Aroon oscillator. It can be either of all these options listed in this block: open price, close price, high price, median price. So you have these options to define the input parameters for the indicator block of AROONOSC. You can see what is the best combination by trying out those editing options here. Here we don't really have the option to choose the applied price, but Visual JForex platform is more developed, and for automated setup we can build the algorithmic setup there. So that's it from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write it in the comment section, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. I will be back tomorrow with a new indicator and a new setup. Till then, have a fabulous day ahead. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.